This is a brief video, so I don't forget to make it. I've noticed on these channels, people are starting to create videos, perhaps challenging MGTOW to debates or making anti-MGTOW content. Interestingly, I've seen in the comments section that some women mention they don't see any issues with MGTOW, that even they, in this situation, are somewhat exhausted by their current sexual market and feel the need to take a break to step away from it. Meanwhile, on the other side, there are many women who become extremely upset when they see MGTOW. They think, no, shut it down, like, you must attack this channel, you have to flag it, you must continue to shame and censor these men. I'm going to explain the difference between these two types of women in detail. The woman who doesn't see any issue with MGTOW is likely part of that small 5% of women who can truly compete with men equally in both academic and professional spheres. She likely earns her own income, and that income is more than sufficient for her needs. It's possible that she owns her own property or resides comfortably in her family home. She has established her career and completed her studies. Essentially, she's completely, self-sufficient and independent, not needing a man for anything beyond a personal relationship. So, in the same way that a man desires to enter into a relationship and enjoy it, and if it turns out to be unsatisfactory, he wishes to have the freedom to leave without any issues or being taken advantage of, these women seek the same opportunity. You see, it's a relationship based on mutual consent and willingness. However, as I mentioned before, this represents a minority within a minority of the entire population. It might be those 5% of women who are capable of competing on equal footing with men. It might be a woman who has a certain degree of autism, perhaps Asperger's, or something that gives her a brain that's more masculine in nature. Alternatively, it could be those women who were raised primarily by their fathers, not by their mothers. This represents a minority within a minority. Truly an exception among exceptions. But the fundamental point is that she is independent and self-sufficient. She has established a career, she possesses her own money, and that's perfectly fine. In any situation, more self-sufficient men exist than women. Because men need to be self-sufficient, it's quite unlikely that his family will continue to support him, and even less likely his girlfriend or wife will. They might support him for a few months, but soon enough, he will be left to fend for himself, and that's the end of it. Conversely, it's generally much easier for women to receive support from their families, or being supported by her boyfriend or husband. Even in the video I made discussing female empowerment and the birth rate, if I recall correctly, I included a statistic from the IBG. It stated that 30% of women have a high education but do not work for men. It was 10%. Initially, the number of adult women not working is 3 times that of men. Men are usually supported by their parents when unemployed. Women, besides parental support, can also be supported by a boyfriend or spouse, by a boyfriend or a husband, by a wife. But then, there's yet another problem, because a lot of people are like blind men in a firefight. Many guys are putting their partners up with them just as boyfriends without being aware of the Neon Estate law or even the Maria da Penhal law. And the women, they aren't aware either. So there are many guys like blind men in a firefight who are managing to get away with it. We really don't know how long this situation will continue, to understand. The more women become aware of these laws and rights, which are actually privileges, the more these men find themselves in trouble. But anyway, I've just finished discussing women who don't have an issue with me because they are self-sufficient, and the difference between a self-sufficient man and a self-sufficient woman. Now, what about those women who, when they encounter something from Red Pill, they become upset? It's simple, man. Their anger shows they view men as plan B, as an ATM. Why? They can pretend to be modern women, feminists, openly or not. They want to study, have a career, a job, and a salary. But if studies or career fail, they want a plan B. They desire to find a boyfriend or a husband who will be a major provider. They aim to latch on to this man, expecting him to either fully support her or cover most of her living costs. Essentially, she seeks a beta provider, a man who will serve as her backup plan, her personal ATM. That is the main goal. In essence, the man is not allowed to have freedom. He cannot escape from the metaphorical slave quarters or flee from the plantation. He is expected to remain bound to this role. If he comes forward and expresses that he desires to be independent, emphasizing his commitment to not imposing on women through marriage, stable unions, or by providing financial support or subsidies to women, how is that perceived? Well, they often see it as an insult or an affront. And let's not forget the context of the situation we're experiencing in the spirit of the year 2018. Whenever you attempt to take anything away from women, even something like your provision, which is meant to be completely voluntary, it is viewed as misogyny. My goodness, who has hurt you in such a way? Why do you have such a strong dislike for women, right? So they desire to have this backup plan known as Plan B, or even worse, there's another occurrence which began emerging in the 60s and 70s. This is what further solidified the 80-20 law. 80% of women are pursuing just the top 20% of men. When I created that video about female empowerment and the birth rate, I noticed something interesting. In Brazil since the 1980s, women have been the majority in higher education. This trend has been consistent over the years. I believe he only considers federal and state universities. They likely don't include statistics for private universities, as that would result in a much larger set of numbers. However, you'll find even more women attending because federal state universities are free. This will lead to an increase in female students, particularly with the abundance of courses available in the social sciences and humanities. In any case, this indicates that since the 1980s, women have constituted the majority in higher education institutions. Let's get a band-aid now. Any woman with higher education doesn't care if she only earns $1.50 a month. If she meets a man who earns $2 or $3 a month, and she's white collar or has a college degree, the guy is blue collar, he doesn't have a college degree. He works in a factory, he works as a delivery man, something mechanical, I don't know. It could be anything, but he doesn't have higher education. It's quite probable that the woman will decline to engage in a serious relationship with this man, a long-term relationship with him, due to his lower social status compared to hers. Since he lacks higher education and she possesses it, now every man must surpass her. If she holds a bachelor's degree, the man needs to have a master's degree. If she possesses a master's degree, then the man should have a doctorate, you see. So regardless, what should be valued more is the salary, but no, she will begin to dismiss the guy. So imagine this situation. It has been occurring since the 60s, 70s, and 80s, with the added complication that most women are involved, women being the majority in higher education institutions. But what do these women actually do? They use their careers and their work like a seesaw, like a lever to say, no, now that I've advanced, now that I've been empowered, the man has to be even higher up. To put it briefly, the demands that women have are now even more elevated. This situation is even more frustrating than the initial scenario, where a woman merely seeks a secure refuge and desires to consider the man as her backup plan. What is truly occurring here is that she is further raising her expectations regarding what a man must possess in order to qualify for marriage, to establish a family, to have children, and to engage in a serious, enduring relationship with a woman. This increase in demands reflects a significant shift in what women are looking for in potential partners. Demands increase absurdly. Because if she now possesses higher education, and if she now has a career, then it must be a man who not only has the same level of education, but ideally one level higher. He must also have a career that surpasses hers with more prestige, higher status, and better pay. And even if you begin to present them with statistics, pointing out that they are already the majority at the university, and that they are already the majority within the civil service, the reality is that if they only aim for these men at the very top, it would be extremely challenging to find a man who will commit to this situation. With you, first and foremost, this could be because the guy might simply be interested in having fun or just looking for a casual relationship. Additionally, it could be due to the statistical reality that the number of men who meet their standards is insufficient to meet the demand. However, it doesn't matter how many days, weeks, months, or even years you spend presenting statistics to these women, it won't make any difference at all. Because they don't want to deal with reality, they simply have this entitlement, this feeling of being spoiled, of thinking that no, I want to have something and I simply have to have it. Society has to provide that for me. If it doesn't provide for me, society is simply wrong. Understand? Then I'm going to shout, and that's the case with MGTOW. Because, for example, MGTOW not only says that in the first case, women who want to use a man as a plan B is a provider in case her studies and career go wrong. MGTOW says that, oh, you're not supposed to have a stable union, you're not supposed to have a stable union. Get married, because otherwise the government will want to force you to support this woman indefinitely. And the other thing that MGTOW says is that the woman can study, she can work, so the man no longer has to support the woman, or even subsidize most of the household bills by living with them. But as MGTOW said, if he doesn't live with them, then that part is already cut. So the man can live in his house, the woman can live in hers, but the man won't be paying the woman's bills, he won't be paying the woman's debts, he won't be traveling with her and covering all expenses or dining out and footing the bill. None of that. It's equal now. They desired equality, wishing to have the opportunity to study and to work. Now, things are becoming equal. Therefore, women who look for a man as a backup plan or as a secure refuge are already influenced by these changes. And the other thing MGTOW says is that you do things because you want to. You go to the gym because you want to be well, you want to be healthy. It's not to attract women. You're going to make money because you want to reach a level where you feel good, where you're comfortable and satisfied. It's not about attracting women. If you don't want to work extra hours, then you won't. If you wish to cut down your working hours, you will do it. And if you desire to retire early, you'll make it happen. This leaves us with the second scenario, which involves the woman who aims to use her education and career as a stepping stone to say, now I want a partner who's even more successful. Because they're going to say that, my God, MGTOW makes the guy not ambitious. Only in the same way. Not ambitious enough for what they want, right? They all want a Christian Grey from 50 Shades of Grey. But the dynamic is the same in both cases. Either the woman who wants the guy with a plan B and the safe haven, or the super alpha Christian Grey and the Millionaire Project. Because they simply have a utilitarian view of men. The man for them is simply a tool. He's a tool. He's a slave. That's why we have the expression of the fleeing the slave quarters, fleeing the plantation. Because in the minds of the women in question, who are not self-sufficient, the man simply has to be a slave. He has to be a tool for them. If the man isn't living as a function of marriage, of fatherhood, of providing for a woman, it's wrong. Honestly, this dehumanization of men by women who insist on a pre-50s lifestyle, where women can choose to be housewives or work less while their husbands provide, is ongoing. Women remain in business, with no more traditionalism. There's no longer any punishment for adultery. A woman can't be criticized for the number of sexual partners she has, or even for the fact that she's a single mother. None of that. So essentially, what they wish to do is to hold on to that aspect of traditionalism that serves them well, but they are not willing to embrace the entirety of traditionalism. Specifically, they avoid the part of traditionalism that benefits men, that caters to men. In essence, they desire to continue being treated as ladies. But regardless, why is it that this remark from women who criticize MGTOW, who are seemingly obsessed with MGTOW, is considered far more offensive than anything MGTOW actually says? Because in reality, from the moment they aim to treat men as merely a tool, as a slave, as someone whose sole purpose is to live just to serve the woman, to serve the family and the offspring, assuming those offspring are indeed the man's and there has been no paternity fraud, what they are essentially doing is dehumanizing the man. It's an extremely offensive process of dehumanization, because it's the fact that the man can't have his own goals, he can't have his freedom, he can't have free will. The relationships that the man has with the woman can't be voluntary. Basically, anytime a guy is in a relationship with a woman and it's not benefiting the woman, regardless of whether it's benefiting him or not, it has to be exclusively benefiting the woman or benefiting the woman, much more than benefiting the man. It's wrong. For instance, there are these ongoing discussions regarding women who desire some form of punishment or penalty for the man with whom they are engaging in a casual relationship. This often involves casual sex, which might not constitute a formal relationship, yet sometimes it does. Essentially, the situation arises when the man makes the decision that he does not wish to date a woman, either because he believes she isn't suitable, or simply because he lacks the desire to pursue a relationship with her. Or he doesn't want to live with her or marry her because he's opposed to marriage and cohabitation. So the woman indeed needs to have her entitlement, as well as her expectations clearly established. If by any chance those expectations are not met or fulfilled, then the man is expected to face punishment. This is because, in the perspective of these women, the man is perceived as a slave. Yes, he is seen as a slave, a mere tool that must live and exist solely to serve the woman. He must live to please her, to provide for her needs, and to ensure her satisfaction and happiness. This is the belief that he should function entirely for the woman's benefit and contentment. As I said, extremely dehumanizing and extremely offensive. And the worst thing is this. The worst thing is that in the manosphere community, some guys are appearing who are supposed to be red pill, which is this. Every time you see a YouTube channel with a guy wanting to say that it's a red pill channel, it's a channel in favor of MGTOW, etc. And you see that this guy is showing his face. He's not anonymous. He's not hidden. Get ready, because sooner or later they're going to give themselves up. Because these guys also embrace the concept of the purple pill and blue pill, believing that a man must struggle and succeed physically, financially, in his career and in his studies, because that's what attracts women. So you see, it's not only women who hold this notion of dehumanizing men and treating them as tools. There are men who perpetuate this idea themselves. And something I've been emphasizing for many years is that the most unfortunate slave is the one who doesn't even realize he's a slave.